Who's in that photo?
That's my mother, my brother Ernst, and the Honorable myself.
And what's the age difference?
I must have been a year old. Doesn't it say here?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
And your brother was how much older?
5 years.
And your mother, how old was she when?
1888. 1888.
She was born in 1888.
Yeah.
So she was 12. So that's 31.
Yeah.
Okay. So
This I remember distinctively. Yes, my mother and my brother Ernst and myself.
where?
In Trier, in the Mosel Valley in Germany, on an outing. My mother was a great admirer of nature, and she loved to take us on walks.
Okay. And this was a picnic?
Yes, picnic, that's right.
Okay. And here, who is that?
This was a
maid?
no, sort of maid, yes, Kindermädchen.
Nurse.
A nurse. Oh, okay.
Nurse, yes.
So she had a nurse.
Yes, always had a nurse.
Do you remember where this was taken?
Yes, yes, in our garden in Palli, in Trier, in the garden, and this was a garden shed we had.
And who is this? So that's your mother?
My mother and her sister Hanne.
So your mother had a sister, yeah?
Yes.
And what happened to her?
Auschwitz.
Okay. That's you and your brother?
Yes.
So your auntie lived
Your auntie, Hanne.
in Trier as well?
No, she lived in Dortmund.
What can you remember of this? This is 1st of May 1923.
Yes. I was 4 years old.
Is that your house?
Big one?
Your house?
Yeah, that's right. My father and my auntie Hanne.
Okay. And tell me about your father.
What would you like to know?
What did he do?
He had a shop. We had a shop, like Engels and Koot or Prouds in Trier. And
The name of the shop?
Zentralmagazin.
Okay. Successful business?
Big one?
Successful business?
Yes, very
Yes.
much so. Yes, it was a big shop.
And this one?
And this is in our garden. We had a terrain in facing the Mosel Valley, where my parents wanted to build a house one day with a view on the river. But Adolf Hitler interfered.
So you owned a block of land separate
Yes,
to your
that's
house?
right. Yes,
Okay.
it was very valuable. It's my brother Ernst.
He's wearing, did he go into Navy or is it just a...
Big one?
He's wearing a Navy uniform, but it's
That's
very...
right. Yes.
It was very fashionable in Germany.
Ernst, my mother and myself.
Do you remember anything of that time?
Yes, I do, distinctively. We always had walks, and we went to the Kockelsberg and had afternoon tea and coffee and cakes, and always walking, exercising, keeping fit. But you see on my face, always depressed,
Why?
always sad and depressed. It's my nature. I was born like this. This is on the balcony of our house in Katharinenhofer number 7 in Trier an der Mosel, with view on the Mosel River. My father.
What?
My father,
Yeah, when was he born?
1877. My mother was born 1888.
So they were 11 years apart.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mother and myself.
Brings back memories at all?
Yes.
What sort of memories?
That she used to adore nature, and she used to say, in nature's sphere, no human mind can penetrate. She had great admire for the nature, and her greatest enjoyment was to walk, spazieren gehen with me. Ah, this is my cousin Gerda, and her mother, and I don't know who the other lady is.
So Gerda is...
In Dortmund.
Okay.
My parents in Switzerland.
Were you on
On
holidays?
a holiday, that's right. In St. Moritz.
The words say to my dear father at his birthday in Wienenburg.
Ah, yeah. I was invited in a former maid of ours in her town, and I visited this. Yes, my father and myself. I was 11 years old at that time, roughly.
What do you remember? What else do you remember about your father?
He was a terribly good man, generous. He only warm-hearted, contrary to my mother. Yes, again, you can see in his face that he is dedicated, warmth, friendliness.
And your mother doesn't look very happy there.
No, I'm afraid to say it was not a happy marriage.
Why?
They didn't get on very well. My mother was too intellectual, and my father was too much heart.
Okay. Intellectual in what way?
In every way, where intellectuality is concerned. She read a lot, she admired philosophy.
Okay.
My father, myself, and my brother Ernst.
Did you get on with your brother?
No,
Why not?
no, it was not a great friendship. Which is partly to blame my mother, because the moment my brother was born, she concentrated all her love on me and neglected
The
him.
moment you were born.
Yes. And
She forgot about him.
neglected my brother. Yes, it's the German Jewish Volksschule.
So high school or
No,
primary school?
primary school. This was the bar mitzvah of my brother Ernst. That's right.
So who are some of the people on the photo?
Well, I was particularly proud. This is my grandfather.
So
My
what
grandmother,
was his name?
Aaron Steinweg.
Okay. And where in Trier?
No, they all came to Trier for the festivities.
So where were they from?
My mother, mostly from Dortmund, East Prussia.
Okay. And why did you live in Trier?
Because my father was a manager in a department store, and one day somebody came to him and said, "There's a good opportunity. There's a shop for sale in Trier on the Mosel Valley," and so he moved to Trier.
Okay. So he was there alone, not with any
Yeah.
family.
I remember my grandfather. Yes.
What can you remember from him?
Pardon?
What do you remember from him?
That he gave me a cigarette to smoke, and that he was a very successful businessman.
Who else do you recognize in this photo?
Everybody,
So who else? Tell me.
everybody. Bernheim, Aaron, mein Großvater, meine Großmutter,
Sprich
meine
Englisch.
Tante, my aunt,
Auntie?
Für mich
Mein-
sprich Englisch.
yes,
Okay. It's okay.
my father, my mother, Mrs. Bernheim,
Who's
my
Mrs. Bernheim?
friend, from my parents, my grandfather, my grandmother, etc.
What do you remember?
And I remember particularly well the rabbi standing here in the background. Yes, this was an outing we had on the mountain near Trier, waiting for the Zeppelin to pass at any time.
Okay. Was that an unusual thing?
Yes, unusual.
Yes, we had that too.
Yes, because the Zeppelin was something outstanding of German
The first thing
technology.
which was flying in the air.
Here I'm showing off as a chauffeur of our Fiat. We had a Fiat car, and I'm showing off how that I'm driving that car.
Did you?
No.
But this is 1933.
Yeah, no.
You didn't have a license?
At 14.
Yeah, my brother Ernst, my mother, myself.
No memories of when that was done, or 1932?
I must have been 15 here, 14 or 15, 1934. Ernst and a girlfriend in Belgium on the beach.
Does that evoke any memories?
Yes, I do remember that photo. Father, Ernst, and I don't know why my mother doesn't appear here, but she appears later there
Yes.
in a very bad state. She's very sad because my father had just died. And he died too early because I was only 16 when he died.
Is that this photo?
Yes, that's right. And I'm trying to console her.
Where was this taken?
In Luxembourg.
This was arranged that they met on the bridge because he wanted to go back into Germany and couldn't.
So how did he get out of Germany?
This was earlier when you could still get out in 1936.
36. Yes, we were playing, my brother and I, in our house on Katharinenhof, number 7 in Trier. This was our business, our shop in Trier. After the invasion, was completely destroyed.
So how did you get this photo?
A friend of our, Mr. Engel, took it and sent it to us.
Yes, we saw him. We went to Germany, to Trier, many years later, and we met Mr. Engel.
Yes, c'est moi.
This was for a passport, or?
Yes, passport also. Yeah.
You remember this time?
Yes, I remember. I can't remember where this was.
It says in Rio.
In where?
1940.
Where?
In Rio.
My mother on her birthday.
Not happy?
My mother was not a happy person, no. This is my brother and his father-in-law, and signing that his company is entitled to distribute a very important pen.
Oh, for Brazil.
Huh?
In Brazil, Eversharp.
Eversharp, that's right.
Okay. Tell me more about Anton Engel. Why was he a good friend?
Anton Engel,
Yes.
he was a very, very good friend.
Oh.
You must remember, at that time, the Germans avoided Jews, and he was so dedicated to us, and he kept us informed of what was happening behind the scenes with the Nazi party.
He was not Jewish.
No.
So what, he ran a bank, or?
Background?
He had a bank?
No, he was a banker. He worked in a bank.
Okay. And can you remember anything else about him? What happened to him?
He was an incredible friend. He visited us all the time, and there was a law coming out that all the money the Jews had would be confiscated. And he advised my parents immediately to take out the money all out the bank, so they would be independent.
So where did they put the money? At home? Kept it at home?
Yeah. In Trier, Kurfürstenstraße 32, with my beloved dog Struppi.
What can you remember of the dog?
Everything.
Give me an example.
Everything. Particularly of him.
Yeah, what do you remember of the dog?
The dog was Struppi, was a Schnauzer.
Right.
Loved it. Here he is again.
Okay. Was your dog?
Big one?
Was it your dog?
Yes. Was absolutely my dog.
Okay.
Show me, Schlosser. Yeah, my father-in-law and myself.
What do you remember of him?
Not much really, of your father. Only that he was a very successful lawyer,
In
very
Germany.
intellectual,
In Germany.
highly intelligent, yeah. Very strong personality.
Peter, you inherited a lot from him.
That's right.
You did.
Yeah, you did. This is my cousin Gerda, Pinkus, just out of Auschwitz. She was saved. And her husband.
And when they lived in Switzerland?
No, in Holland.
Holland, in Amsterdam. That's where the story with Thea started.
And tell me the story.
With Thea.
Yeah.
They had a baby, these two had a baby, and she died in childbirth. And he had to have somebody who looked after the baby, so he took Thea. He found Thea, he advertised and found her. And he also had a relationship with her.
Okay.
And this is how it all started. When Ernst came to see his relatives in Amsterdam and met Thea and
From the army certificate that he was active in the army,
As
in the
what?
German army.
As what? As what?
Soldier,
Okay. In what, the First World War?
yeah. Yeah,
Did I take this photo?
yeah. That is in Trier.
Yes.
My mother,
So tell me
this is
about
our shop.
tell me about the shop.
Well, it was a shop like crowds.
So it sold jewelry and
Less jewelry, more china, and my mother later transformed it into more of a, wie heißt es, more of a,
kitchenware.
yes, partly kitchenware, partly ceramics.
Okay. And how did it finish? They just closed the door one day and that was it?
Yeah.
that was it. The Nazis came and won. That was it.
Do you remember that?
Now he
No,
was not
no.
there anymore.
So tell me about this one. These two people.
This is my grandmother,
On which side?
grandmother,
On which side?
for my father. My father's mother,
What was her name? There's nothing on. Oh.
her name was Sarah Steinbeck, Mutter von Fimis Mutter, Fimis Großmutter.
Your mother's mother.
Yeah,
Okay, do you remember anything of her and what do you recall?
yes, I once met her. I think I was 5 or 6 years of age, and I particularly have good memories of her husband, who gave me a cigarette to smoke.
Here.
At 6 years of age?
Pipan?
At 6 years of age?
Yes,
And that's the husband, yeah?
yes.
So what do you remember, apart from that, what do you remember of him?
Not much, Peter. I was too small a child, and they were too old, and they died, and I have no memories of this generation. I do have memories of my grandfather, my mother's side, who gave me a cigarette to smoke. That's all I remember.
What did they do in life? What was their background?
My grandfather was a very wealthy man, my mother's father. He had a store, a
Shop?
just a moment, a store, food and things.
Like delicatessen? Delicatessen?
Yeah, delicatessen.
Okay, can we just spend a bit more time on this? So what does this tell you? What does this bring back?
This is my father's mother. I show you. I think it's Julia. Cecilia. Where is Cecilia?
Can you see that? Yeah. So
Here. This
So
is
which
my
one?
father's.
this one, yeah.
That's right, exactly. This one here. This is my father's mother.
So who's he?
Beg pardon?
Who is he?
Jeanette is Jeanette is the mother of the well-known German industrialist Arthur Müller, very well known. He had the Ambulbut works. He made all the wings for the German fighter airplanes.
These two are the parents of.
That's right, parents of my grandmother.
Right. So how far back? This goes to 1852. Okay. 1852.
1852.
Okay. So where were they? Which city were they? You don't.
König Marienburg, East Prussia.
Okay. Okay. So the names are Hermann. That's the family name.
Moment. Frau Julia Hermann, Herr Heinrich Hermann.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued where Abrahamson comes from. Do you know? So before your father.
Now, she must have married an Abrahamson.
Yeah, okay, but where did that come from?
I don't know, Peter.
East Prussia.
East Prussia, okay.
That's all we know.
Okay, so these photos, you don't know who this is? Neither of you.
No, she's the wife of.
She's one of these.
This one, is that the same
That's
woman?
right,
Yes.
wife of him.
This one?
It's the same woman, yeah?
Probably, yes.
And him?
She married
He's the
him.
husband.
Okay, so those are, okay. Alright,
There's no name on it.
okay. So tell me about this.
This is a mistake from the German government to say that in the name of the Führer, Adolf Hitler, and Reichsgrosser, they gave the businessman Louis Abrahamson, my father, the Iron Cross for bravery in the First World War.
Okay, so what did your father do in the First World War?
He was in the front, in France.
Yes?
In France.
Tell me.
Fighting, shooting.
Against the British or
Big man?
who did he fight?
In Verdun.
In Verdun?
Verdun, that's right.
Against the British? Do you know?
Big man?
Against the British?
Against the Allies, against the French, Belgian.
This was granted in 1934.
Yes.
So, can you tell me what happened?
Well, this was already when Hitler was in power, and anti-Semitism instigated by the German government was rampant. And it's amazing that this document was published, that this Iron Cross was given to my father as an obvious Jew. It's the name of Abrahamson.
So, did you remember when this happened?
Big man?
Do you remember when this happened?
Yes, I do.
So was it a ceremony or was there a ceremony or did this just arrive in the mail or?
No, he was invited to the government, invited to the Bürgermeister.
Oh, the mayor of...
That's right, of Trier.
Right.
As you can see here, Trier.
Yes. We spoke briefly about this one. Can you see that? Yeah,
Yes.
last time.
This is my brother Ernst and myself.
Right.
My brother Ernst was 5 years older than me.
Okay. What was the relationship like at that time versus later?
It was not very good because, for unknown reasons, my mother concentrated all her love on me, and as I grew older, less on my brother Ernst, and he suffered from this, rightly so. Poor boy. I feel for him to this day.
What about your father?
My father was made the balance. He supported my brother.
Okay. Can you give me some examples of that?
Not really. Example of their attitude.
Yes.
Yes, I got all the gifts and presents and a bicycle, and I was pampered, and my brother wasn't.
Okay. And your relationship with your brother?
Was not good because of this, because he was jealous, obviously, of me.
Okay. And did that change during your later life?
No.
Later in life, yes. When we got engaged, I think I told you.
Yes.
He told me once, he was alone with me one day, and he told me all about it. And he said he wants to forget about it.
Yeah. I speak to my brother every day almost. You know, in
your mind?
Yeah, in my mind, that's right. Yeah. And I feel sorry for him.
And when he died, before he died, he wrote a letter to Frederik saying goodbye, and he knew that he would die. He had leukemia. And saying goodbye and saying to him, you were always a better one.
He said so in his letter.
Yes.
You were the one who loved animals more than I did, and you were the better character than I did.
Which is not true.
No, absolutely not.
Why not?
I don't see where I was a better character than him.
So
today I feel sorry for him.
So what was your relationship like later in life when you were in Brazil?
Never very good.
No.
Why not?
Because
for
of this.
For instance, one day we were in New Zealand already, and you wanted we had no money, and you wanted to borrow some money from him, and he didn't want to give it to you. He didn't trust you. Later he felt sorry for it. He was going to school, and he was the only Jewish boy in his class. And one day the teacher came in and said to them, all boys, said to them...
Not the teacher, the original specialist in racism, because the Germans were very proud, they were Aryans, you know, tall, blonde, go ahead.
And he said to them, look boys, you have to learn what a real Aryan looked like. And he looked around and said, this is a typical Aryan.
Yeah.
And the boys just
the form of my head, the hair, the blue eyes, the nose.
But you weren't blonde. Were you blonde? You weren't blonde.
Yes, he was light blonde.
Yeah. And I had to stand in front of the class, and he said, there you are, this is an Aryan. What's your name? Fritz Abrahamson.
And
a very Jewish name.
And then what was the reaction?
Huh?
I wasn't there.
So what did he do after he heard your name?
Pardon?
What did he do after he heard your name?
He blushed.
How did you feel?
Yeah, Heil Hitler.
How did you feel?
Proud.
What do you remember of your time in England?
With much pleasure.
What did you do?
In England,
Yes.
I went to school there.
In
I had a
London?
background?
In London?
In London, that's right.
From what year to what year?
I think 34 to 36.
There's 34 to 36. 1934 to 36.
And why did they send you to England?
Because it's my mother again. She wanted that I speak a language which is internationally recognized. She wanted me to speak English. And I worked as a volunteer in a perfume factory, Pimento Products, and in the office.
In London?
In London, yes.
Okay. And then why did you go to Brazil? Why did you not stay in London?
Why did I go to Brazil?
Because Ernst was
No, my mother wanted to send me away from Europe as far as possible because she was concerned that Hitlerism and National Socialism would take over the rest of Europe. So she didn't want us to be in Belgium or France, but far away in
You
Brazil.
followed Ernst to Brazil.
That's right.
Can you remember how that happened? Did you move from London to Brazil?
Yes, from London with a ship called Almanzora.
Yes.
And I remember when when I arrived in Brazil, the immigration officers didn't want to let me go on
land.
down the gangway, and but there was Peter's Ernst's boss down on the gangway and shouting up to the let the boy come down, let him come down in Portuguese. Deixa o rapaz descer. And then they let me go, and I arrived in Rio de Janeiro.
Now you were a very handsome boy
Thank you.
when you look
So
at some
are
of these
you.
photos.
Yeah.
That doesn't look like you were struggling.
No. No.
What do you remember of this? It says this one is from Rio in September 1940,
That's right.
and this one is from Rio in January 1941.
That's right.
So that doesn't look like you were struggling.
No.
So what do you remember of this time?
Well, it doesn't look that I was struggling, but I was. First of all, I had to learn a new language,
Yes.
Portuguese, and I had to rent a room. I had to be careful with my expenses, so I didn't overspend. She arrived on a plane in Sao Paulo, and I still see her coming down the steps of this plane, and I had bought new shoes. Shoes were very important to me, and instead of emotionally kissing it, I said, look at my shoes. These little things I remember. The shoes.
Was your mother happy to be in Brazil?
She was happy to be with me, yes. We were never really happy. You know, it's a strange country, strange climate, strange language. We are Westerners from Germany, and we didn't really fit into this Latin American environment.
But you went on well when I met you.
Pardon?
You were very well when I met you. You
Yeah.
had acclimatized.
Because of you.
Yes, he met you.
Yeah. No,
Social life?
I was never happy in Rio or Sao Paulo, never. And I was very pleased when I was able to get out of Rio and go to to Australia.
So
Not Rio, to
Why?
Sao Paulo.
why did you move from Rio to Sao Paulo?
I had a job opportunity.
Yeah. Can you tell a little bit more about that?
Yes, there was somebody in Sao Paulo, yes, that's right, who was looking to manage his shop, jewelry shop. And he heard about me and he gave me his job in Sao Paulo.
What was the name of that? Can you remember a little bit about what the name of the shop?
He was Swiss. His name was Edgar Kocher, and the name of the shop was Jean Richard.
And how long did you stay there and what did you do?
I was managing his jewelry shop, selling only watches, the most expensive watches, and it was a very hard time because Edgar Kocher was a Swiss and he was very hard on me. I had to work all day and then come back at night at 10 o'clock and empty the windows and go back home. So I worked almost 12 hours a day.
You've always had a love for watches.
Yeah, that's where I got, yes, familiar with watches.
What sort of watches did you sell?
Jean Richard, Ulysse Nardin, Vacheron Constantin, which is the most expensive watch in the world, and Esca, that was a cheaper watch.
And who were your customers? Did you know any of the customers? How did you sell these watches?
Yes, I only remember one man called Hollnagel. He was a German, and he said, I feel so refreshed to be in a shop which doesn't belong to a Jew.
Okay. So there was anti-Semitism in Sao Paulo.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So, and how did you establish yourself in Sao Paulo? Can you remember that? I mean, you arrived there with a job, but nothing else. Or
No.
So how did you?
No, my mother and I, we rented an apartment and rented out a room, you know, and we had somebody who lived in our apartment in the second bedroom.
Okay. And where did the money come from? From your job?
For my job,
So
yes.
your mother left with nothing?
And nothing, no.
Okay.
And a little bit from Ernst.
Yeah.
From time to time he would.
Yes, my father sometimes came into the shop. I was not on good terms with him, and I can remember to this day, and he threw an envelope on the counter where I was working. He said, here, this is my support.
Okay, so your mother left everything behind in Germany?
Yeah.
She came with nothing, yeah?
No.
Okay. How did you two meet?
Had a friend of mine called Samson, and I walked in, and there was Hanne sitting opposite me, and
I was friendly with his sister, Margot.
With your friend's sister?
Yes.
Okay.
and
There we met.
there we met.
And
then-
What year was this?
And she fell immediately in love with me, and she gave me a disc, a gramophone disc, as a gift.
we met in.
And when she came home, she said,
1945.
when she got home, she said, today I met the man I want to marry. And she did.
Did you?
For you to say that to your mother, your first impression must have been very good.
Yes.
Tell me about your first impression.
Oh gosh. He was nice young man. That's all I can remember.
Good looking, she doesn't admit it.
And when you saw Hannah, what did you think?
Bitch.
Oh,
No.
why was that?
No, sympathy. You know, when I got to know her better and her character, her warmth, etc., I got to love her.
Right.
To this day,
So,
60 odd years.
so you, your impression of his was
It's not 60 odd years, it's 70 years.
you had an instantly good impression.
Yes.
When the two of you met, so those early times, what do you remember about that? What did you meet every day? Did you meet it?
No. Oh gosh, we couldn't afford that. he lived on one side of the, you know, we lived in Brigadier Luis Antonio, then there was a mountain, you know, a hill, and on the other side, that way, there was Martinico Prado. And if we were very nice, we were allowed to telephone each other. Telephone was very expensive these days.
Okay. So how did you meet? How did you meet on an ongoing basis?
He used to come and pick me up, and we would walk up and down and talk and get to know each other.
And so you got engaged which year?
1946.
So how did that happen?
What do you mean? How did...
What brought that about? Can you remember that time and what?
We fell in love, but I couldn't afford to marry because I had to support my mother. And so we were engaged verbally, and until
not only verbally. My mother gave a party.
Huh?
My mother gave a party,
Yeah.
an engagement party,
Okay.
for all our friends.
Do you remember that?
Very vaguely,
Was the party at your house?
yes, in Brigadier Luis Antonio.
Okay. And did your mother go as well?
Yes, she came too.
So how was the...
Very bad. Our two mothers, they didn't click.
No?
No, but his mother and my father went on well.
Okay. Go on, tell me.
Difficult to say. I know that Hanne and his mother and my grandmother, they also didn't. I know that one day my grandmother invited the whole family out of some reason or other, or the birthday or whatever, and they must have fought. I can't remember what. I only know that Hanne, his mother, got up and left.
Okay.
They just left.
Okay. So there was a lot of stress in your early relationship.
yes.
And later
Yeah.
too.
Okay. So and then what prompted the marriage proposal?
All of a sudden there was enough money so we could marry.
Okay. So in what year was that?
1949.
Okay. So what do you remember of your wedding day? So.
I only remember that we had a Ford. He was very, very proud. His first car, a Ford 1936. And this Ford took us to Cap Stuyvesant, to the mountains.
Your wedding, your honeymoon was in Brazil?
In Brazil, but very short, because after about 10 days, Ernst rang us in the hotel from Rio, and he said, "Look, I think you better come back. Your mother is dying." So we wanted to stay for a fortnight, but after 10 days, we went back, and we went first to her apartment because we had rented a little house, and there she was, all made up with lipstick and everything. She was just jealous. She wasn't sick. And we rang her doctor later.
Envy,
Jealousy.
Eifersucht.
Yeah.
And we rang her doctor later, and he said there's nothing wrong with her. She's all right.
So she lived for many more years, no?
Yes.
Okay.
This is one of the reasons why we are so concerned about money, because money, in our case, brought us freedom, and in many cases, because of corruption, money saves your life.
So,
Yeah.
do you recall anything from your life in Germany?
In Germany,
Yes.
are you engaging me now?
Yes, I am, because the camera is on you.
Oh dear. No, not much.
I want to just talk a little bit about your so this.
I never met my grandfather.
So what was
He
his
died
name?
before I was born.
What was his name?
Bodenheimer. I can't remember. I've got it in my family.
In the
Tree.
In the tree. And then what do you remember of this photo?
Well, it was on their wedding trip.
Yes.
I can't remember anything.
No, but what do you know of that photo? Where was that taken?
In Italy,
Yes.
somewhere in Italy.
So where did they meet?
I don't know.
So are they both from Wuppertal?
No, my father was from Essen. I've got his, you know his certificate. He was born in Essen, and my mother was born in Karlsruhe.
Okay.
And then I don't know where they met. Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
Possibly my mother had a cousin who was called Ettinghausen, and he was very friendly with my father. I think that's the only way they met. I don't know.
Okay.
I
And,
only can presume.
and what can you tell me about this photo?
This is my grandfather and two of his sons.
What are the names? Do you know the
This
names?
is Ernst, this is Fred. The youngest one, Fritz, isn't on the photo.
So Ernst went to Brazil as
Ernst
well.
went to Brazil.
Okay,
And
so
Fred went later to America.
what can you tell me about Ernst?
Ernst helped us come to Brazil. My mother and I lived with them for about half a year until my father got established in São Paulo.
Okay, so how did all that work? What made his decision to leave Germany come true?
Look, it was 1938, high time. My grandparents died in the Holocaust. You know, if we had waited longer, we would have died too.
So can you remember anything from that time?
No, I was only 12 years old, 11.
Okay, so you don't remember going to school in Germany or...
Yes, I can remember vaguely a few friends I had, but not much.
And your father never told you later about his life there or...
He didn't want, when he heard that one of my mother's brother lived in Switzerland, and he found out that my grandparents had died in the Holocaust, and he sent my father a message. I think he phoned him.
And when was this? After the war or?
No, during the war. He probably sent him a letter. And when my father found out that his parent had died, he cut out everything German. Nothing. I don't even have a photo of them. Nothing.
Right.
He didn't want to talk about it.
Okay, so his family he had a brother or sister? Did he have brothers or sisters?
Two brothers. One brother was a dentist, Richard, and one brother was the oldest brother, Walter, went to America.
The dentist, you said, went to America.
The other brother, Walter? No, Walter went to America. The dentist came later.
To where? To Brazil?
Now to Canada.
Okay.
He went to Canada, but nothing but heard of him anymore.
And that's Oldenheimer, yeah?
No, that's Altgenau.
Alkenhoek, sorry. And on the Oldenheimer side, what happened to your mother's...
Ernst, you heard about it. And then there was Fritz, which was the youngest.
He went to Brazil.
No, he went to Switzerland.
To Switzerland.
And then
And Ernst went to Brazil.
to Brazil. And Ernst, Fritz. Was there another one? Fred. Fred went to America too. He went to Los Angeles.
Right.
And for a short time I was in contact with him. Remember, we were in Los Angeles and looked for him, but couldn't find him. He had died, and his wife disappeared. Because what happened is, he made a lot of money. I don't know how, he left all his money to two of his nieces, which was my cousin Beatrice, the oldest daughter of Ernst, and myself. And when he died, his wife took the money and disappeared, never to be heard of again.
Right. And how, you don't know how he made his money, or?
No, I don't.
Okay. And the other niece, Beatrice, for you?
Beatrice also couldn't find him. I was in contact with Beatrice until about half a year ago. I don't know whether she died or she can't talk anymore. You know, we started not talking but emailing each other.
Right. What's her name? Beatrice what?
Beatrice Odenheimer.
And she lives in Los Angeles?
No, Recife.
Oh, Recife, okay. Oh, so she was Ernst's...
She was Ernst's oldest brother, oldest daughter. And there was another daughter, Marion, who died a few years ago, and Max was the youngest. And now my grandfather was called Max.
Which?
Max Odenheimer.
Max Odenheimer, that's this one, yeah?
Max.
So what was your father doing?
My father had a factory, Ferrasso,
Making scissors.
making scissors and knives,
Yeah.
Shaving knives, or?
shaving knives.
Okay.
Yes, in those days. And it didn't go very well.
Did he start it or did he buy it?
He started it, and he was lucky. He found a very good man who had worked in this before in Germany, and this man helped him build it up. But then when the war ended, the competition came again from Germany, from Solingen, and it broke up. It was finished.
So, can you remember about your father, about how he felt about it at that time?
Very bad. He was a lawyer, you know, and he had to make scissors,
Yes.
you know, and knives, and he wasn't happy about it.
He's a very unhappy man.
Yes, very
Frustrated because he was a very successful lawyer, and he had to give this up, and he was frustrated because he
was a very
couldn't.
unhappy man.
He couldn't use his knowledge and his brain to be a lawyer.
So how did he survive? How did he fund his life?
I tell you how. I'm just remembering. When the war ended, the Germans came to their senses and offered recompensation to the Jews.
Yes.
So my father got a very good recompensation, and he started working for other Jews, and he got contact in Germany,
Yes.
and he started working for other Jewish people, and he earned with it his life.
So how did he do that?
He wrote letters, and he had to help these Jewish people to think back to the time that they left Germany, and
Give their biographies.
yes, and he had a very good a lawyer. He found a very good lawyer in Switzerland, I think, or was it Germany?
Germany.
In Germany, who helped him, and they, between the two of them, they made a good business out of it,
Okay.
and he became happier with that.
How old was he when this started? This started immediately after the war?
Immediately after the war, he was 94. He was
So
in his mid-50s.
Mid-50s, yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't live very long. He died with 70.
But that was after.
Yes, and
He
he
retired.
never. What made him very frustrated is that he never could afford to buy a house. He lived in the house that we rented when we came to Brazil until the end of, until they left for Switzerland.
And when I was born, did you stop work?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
I had a baby.
Okay.
I wouldn't work with my baby.
Okay.
But what happened with you never knew. I had the table where I would get you, and I had a little bathtub. And one day, when you were about 2 or 3 months old, I turned around and I left you lying on the table and turned around to see if the water was warm enough to put you in, and you turned over and fell down.
Yes, it still hurts.
It doesn't. Does it hurt? You had a blue... I fainted. Did he tell you the story of this ring?
No.
No.
You tell us.
When Fred was very young, they were friends of his father, weren't they?
Mm.
They came to Trier with their daughter. The daughter was a little bit younger than Fred. And what did she say? You want to marry me?
Mm.
I think they were about
Yeah.
6 or 7 years old. And so they had a promise, but they lived in the north of Germany. When the Nazis came, they took the parents, and the daughter remained. And the daughter came to Trier and gave the ring to his mother. Isn't that
Yeah,
so?
that's right.
And the mother, and then she went back to Berlin, but she didn't survive. She was taken away. And I wear this ring all the time in memory of this girl.